Have you ever felt like life owes you a chance? Like if someone just helped you once, everything would be different. One man believed that too, until one day he found himself sitting at a quiet bus stop with nothing left in his hands, and he waited. He waited for someone to pull him out of a life where he had nothing left. But no one came to save him. Only one person stopped. He didn't give him money. He said just one sentence, a sentence that would change his life forever. One afternoon, at a deserted bus stop on the outskirts of town, a homeless man sat quietly on an old wooden bench. His name was Michael, 32 years old, but his life had spiraled off track years ago. Michael's days were almost identical, wandering the streets, sitting in crowded places, and hoping someone would stop long enough to feel pity. Over time, Michael learned one thing. To get money, he had to say exactly what people wanted to hear. A sad story, a bit of despair, a touch of weakness, enough to tap into someone else's compassion. That afternoon, Michael saw Mon step out from a black car parked near the bus stop. He wore a neat suit, a calm demeanor, a focused gaze. One look was enough to know he was someone used to making decisions. Michael thought to himself, maybe this person will give me some money. He stood up and approached. He lowered his voice. "Sir, I haven't had anything to eat for days. Could you help me with a little money?" The man looked at him for a long time. His gaze wasn't contemptuous, but it wasn't soft either. Finally, he spoke. "I am an entrepreneur. I don't invest money in things that bring no value." Michael was slightly surprised. The man continued, "If you give me nothing, then why should I give money to you?" Michael gave a forced smile. "Sir, I am just a poor beggar. What do I have to give you?" The man looked Michael up and down. Then he said something Michael didn't expect. "I have a garden behind my house. It has been abandoned for years because I'm too busy with work. If you can clear that garden..." He paused for a moment. "I will pay you fairly." Michael stood still. A single thought echoed in his mind. Pay? After so many years, he was hearing that word again. He looked down at his hands, hands that once worked hard. But for many years, they had only been used for one thing: reaching out, to beg for charity. Michael wasn't sure what he could still do, wasn't sure if he still had the strength to work. But at that moment, hunger surged, 2 days now, without anything in his stomach. He looked up. "Okay," just one short word, and he followed the man. He didn't know yet that this small decision would change his life. The businessman's house sat at the edge of town. Behind the house was a large garden, but it barely looked like a garden anymore. Weeds grew higher than knees. Vines covered the fence. Old flower beds had almost disappeared under layers of wild growth. Michael looked around. The job was bigger than he imagined. He leaned down, pulled the first weed. The soil was hard. The roots ran deep. He had to use all his strength just to rip it up. After a few minutes, his back began to ache. After an hour, his hands shook with fatigue. Sweat flowed down his face. Many times Michael stopped. A voice in his head whispered, "Give up. Go back to the bus stop. Asking for money is easier." For many years, that had always been the easiest choice. Michael stood up straight. He looked at the garden once more. A small corner was now cleaner. The old path was beginning to show. Something strange happened. For the first time in years, Michael saw results from his own hands. He leaned down again. One more weed. Then another. Time passed. As the sun began to set, the garden had changed noticeably. Not perfect, but enough to see it was once a real garden. The entrepreneur stepped out. He looked around the garden for a long time. Then he turned to Michael. He handed him his wages. Before Michael left, he said one thing. "Do you see? When you create value, you are no longer a beggar." Michael was stunned. He didn't answer. But as he left that house, something inside him had shifted. He didn't fully understand it then, but the seed had been sown. 5 years later, a quiet morning, someone knocked on the entrepreneur's door. He opened it. In front of the door stood a neatly dressed man. In his hand was a small gift box. The businessman looked at him for a moment. "I'm sorry. Have we met?" The man smiled. "You might not remember, but 5 years ago, I was the homeless man who asked you for money at the bus stop." The businessman frowned slightly. Then the memory slowly returned. The man held out the gift. "I brought this to thank you, because that day changed my life." He spoke slowly. "After that day, I stopped begging for money. I started asking for work. Initially, it was just gardening. I knocked on every door and asked if they needed help with their garden. Some people refused, but some agreed. Later, I met other homeless people just like I used to be. I taught them what I had learned. We started working together, clearing gardens, clearing wasteland, turning neglected plots of land into green gardens." The man smiled. "Today, we have a company specializing in garden and wasteland restoration. And many people working with me were once homeless." He looked at the garden behind the house. "It all started from this garden." Sometimes the thing that changes a person's life is not money, but an opportunity to create value. A small opportunity. A job that seems very simple, but it's enough to awaken the dignity and the potential that has been dormant for years. Because life operates by a simple rule. Before you receive anything, you must create value first. And when you do that, the reward is not just money. It is respect, opportunity, and the sense of pride in knowing that what you received is what you deserved to create.